Hello friends, welcome back to Tales and Tales with Brittany. My name's Brittany and today we are going to be going over my October reading wrap-up. In the month of October, I read a total of 4 novels and 6 novellas. I essentially binged my way through the Scared Sexy novella collection by Amazon Originals, and overall I had a much better time with this series than I did the Under the Mistletoe series that they released last November. There were some choices made in that series, but overall really enjoyed the novellas in this collection. So for the Scared Sexy collection by Amazon Originals, I'm going to rank the books from my least favorite to my most favorite. So my least favorite was Falling by Christina Lauren. This follows a fallen angel and a human that he meets at a Halloween party. Overall, I just found it a little bit lackluster and I only rated it 3 stars. In 5th place is All My Boyfriends Are Monsters by Kimberly Lemming. This follows a woman who has just decided to break up with her boyfriend because he wanted to go on a love little hike with essentially someone who keeps making googly eyes at him and clearly wants to have a thing with him. And our lovely main character went with him on this lovely hike. And they essentially leave her behind because she's either injured herself or something's going on. While she's there, she makes a wish into a wishing well, I guess, that happened to be on this mountain and awakens the ardor or devotion of an ancient god. And essentially it's a polyamorous-ish shapeshifter. Multiple god can turn into multiple people. Interesting, good time. Overall, I rated All My Boyfriends Are Monsters a 3.5. The book in 4th place is Beautiful Nightmare. This book is essentially Spicy Monsters, Inc. Overall, I did really enjoy it. Rated it a 3.5 stars as I wanted a little bit more out of it than what I ended up getting. It felt a little bit rushed, which is unfortunately something that can happen with novellas. In 3rd place is Spicy Little Curses by J.T. Geisner. This novella follows a reporter who has come to interview a man who essentially is cursed, or his family has been cursed, and this curse ultimately results in what might end up being her death if they don't make their way through cursing it. And he is covered in magical curse tattoos, which is very interesting. Overall, I rated this novella 4 stars, and out of all of the novellas, it was the one that I found had the most likeliness that it could expand into a larger story. I definitely want to know more about our characters and kind of the life they ended up building together, and it feels like it could almost be the start of a paranormal Monster of the Week-esque series. So would be interesting to see if there is any continuation. I'm really glad I gave this novella a try, as this is the 2nd time I have read something by J.T. Geisner, and the first time I tried to read something by them, I DNF'd it about the halfway point because I could not get past the unrealisticness of one of the main characters in that book. In 5th place is Space Vampire by Ruby Dixon. I was not at all worried about enjoying this book because I do really enjoy the Ice Planet Barbarian series by Ruby Dixon. Overall, this follows a woman who has been kept as a pet, and she's trapped on a space station with a alien who has essentially been created or altered to be a vampire. In this world, they create beings in order to fight in gladiator-style rings, and let's just say some romance ensues. But overall, I had a good time with this, and I rated it 4.5 stars. And my favorite book, the #1 book of this collection, was Hot for Slayer by Ali Hazelwood. Overall, I had a wonderful time with this book, despite it including one of my least favorite tropes, the amnesia trope. I really enjoy kind of seeing the history of our 2 characters. Essentially, it follows a vampire and a vampire slayer that has been tasked over time to eliminate her family, and kind of we see a little bit of their past interactions with each other. And he essentially, something happens during a takeout moment and he becomes amnesia. He doesn't remember a single thing and he seems to think that they are lovers. But overall, I rated Hot for Slayer 4.5 stars, and I had such a wonderful time. across the collection, I rated the collection an average of 3.83 stars, which I think is pretty successful for a short little novella collection. So in the month of October, I also read 2 books by Elle Kennedy as part of the Elle Kennedy off-campus Briar U read-along that is being run by Reading with Court. I read The Mistake along with The Score. Overall, I rated The Mistake a 3.5 stars. It was a little bit lackluster. A lot of the growth that happens to our main character seems to happen off stage. Essentially, there's a miscommunication that happens between kind of our male main character and our female main character. And I just found it wasn't executed the best. It was just a little bit lackluster, and compared to the other 2 books that I've read so far in the series, just was not my favorite. So I also read The Score by Elle Kennedy, which is the 3rd book in the off-campus series, and I enjoyed this one much more than The Score. I love Dean and the banter that he had with Allie. It was such a wonderful time. It was a spicy time, and I really enjoyed it, and I would say I rated it about 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed the book, but there was just something about it and about the ending that kept me from having the full 5 stars, but definitely think I cried for a good 2 hours after finishing the book. Definitely the last quarter of the book that I was not expecting, and I'm definitely not looking forward to reliving that when I have to read The Goal this month. I also finished Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Overall, I rated this book 3.5 stars. I kind of felt that I should have DNF'd it at the 50% mark, as I wasn't obsessed with this book. I wasn't enjoying it as much as I was hoping to. Part of it was a mixture of I have a close family member that lives very close to the area where this series starts with, who lives kind of in the Yucatan, and I visited a lot of the cities that are mentioned, at least in that area of the book, and it just felt like there needed to be a little bit more depth. I understand with this kind of story and this re-inspiring of some Mayan history and some Mayan mythology, that because we are going to different cities as part of it, it's hard to be as in-depth as possible, but I kind of wish the steps of going to different places might have been cut down a little bit, and we could have had a little bit more detail of where we are in the world, and we could have had just a little bit more rich actual world building, or at least descriptions of where we were at. I also read Shadow Kiss, which is the 3rd book of the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead. Read this as part of the Vampire Academy read-along. Overall, really enjoyed this. I rated it 3.5 stars, but now that I'm thinking back on it, I probably should have rated it a 3.75 to a 4 star, just based on my enjoyment alone. These books, while they're not the most amazing things that I've ever read, they continue to be kind of like bite-sized candy, like something you just read for fun, not because you're wanting to turn your brain on. And it's just really nostalgic for when vampires were a huge craze when I was a teenager. And the last book that I read in the month of October was Burning Daylight by Emily McIntyre. This is the start of her Defying the Stars series, which at least the 1st book was a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I started this book, I think, within days of it being released, and I read it in a good 10 days. Overall, I rated this book 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy Emily McIntyre's retellings, where you can pretty much every character, you can pull out a one-for-one inspiration of pretty much for every character. You can pull out from the source material what character that character is inspired on. Really enjoyed kind of this twist on kind of 2 rival families within a small city, and kind of all of the drama that was going back and forth. I did feel this book was probably about 10% too long, which is what kept it from being a 5 star. It kind of felt like it dragged a little bit in the middle, and it took a little bit for our main characters to come together. And there was a lot of things that were being hinted at that I really wish were going to be explored in the book, and my hope is that this ends up being an actual series of books where everything is interconnected, because there was a lot of hints at things that were going on to a few of kind of the side characters that I hope is going to be explored kind of in later books. Thank you so much for joining me for my October recap. I hope you have a wonderful day, whether it's morning, noon, or night. I hope your current read is a 5-star, and I hope you have a wonderful November. It's the second last month of the year. Take care.